Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com. In the market for a flooring upgrade? Tripp's Floor Sanding and Berkeley Fashion Flooring does it all, from hardwood floor restoration to new floor installation, including hardwood, tile, vinyl, laminate, carpet, and the hottest trend in flooring, luxury vinyl tile and luxury vinyl plank. Family owned and operated with over 25 years experience, you can expect excellent customer service. Estimates are free. Call 304-229-7009 or online at trippsfloorsanding.com.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above-market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars, too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
From the Talk Radio WRNR studios, it's time for Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob Mario and David Welch.
Thank you, Cliff. Good morning and welcome into the program. This segment of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, brought to you by one of our many wonderful sponsors. Today, the Washington Nationals. Wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, pick your guy, and beat the streak. Download Beat the Streak in the App Store or on MLB.com/BTS and add Beat the Streak to your morning routine. Beat the streak, Dave.
What is that?
Beat the streak.
Beat the streak.
Yeah, I can't tell you more than that because I haven't downloaded it myself.
Oh, okay, so you've got to go online to find out.
Really should have.
That'd be like a teaser ad then, right?
I should do that, huh?
Yeah.
I do wake up. I do brush my teeth. I don't eat breakfast at home. I try to take care of that here once in a while, and I haven't picked my guy or beaten the streak, so I've got the wake up and brush your teeth part down.
Okay, that's good to know.
2 out of 5.
Good to know, sure.
So that's 400 in baseball. I'm a Hall of Famer if I do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, you are. How many 400 lifetime hitters are there?
Exactly 0.
Exactly 0. When's the last time someone hit 400?
That'd be Joe D.
I think it would be Ted Williams.
I'm sorry, Ted. Yeah, Joe D was the hitting streak. Ted Williams, 406.
1941.
Didn't even get the MVP. DiMaggio got it that year.
Yeah, he got it. That's exactly right. Hit 406 and you don't win the MVP. Go figure.
That's a tough one.
The Italian got it.
You know, those
one of the best books I've ever read, and I've read a lot of baseball books, is the Ted Williams book. It's called The Kid. 800 pages. Everything you'd ever want to know about Ted Williams. Great story, though.
Like many people of his era, fought in World War II, lost 4 productive years of his career.
Yes, he did. Right in the middle of it.
And Korea.
Yeah, he went back. Yeah, he played, I guess, 21 full seasons, but had, I think, 5 in between. So he could have had 26 seasons, actually. So, yeah, pretty amazing. His, the one remarkable record that I think he has is his on-base percentage for the length of his career is 500. I think it's actually 499 or 490, but right around 500. Really? Yeah. Better than Babe Ruth's. #1 of all time.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Someone will call me on that if I'm wrong. You know, I do make things up every once in a while. I don't mean to make things up. I just might transpose a number, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. It's been a few years since I read the book. World Cup coming, speaking of sports.
2026. I'll be 63.
Yeah, you will be. And we'll be right here. Covering covering the World Cup.
Why not be?
I hope. Yeah.
This is what, 2018, so that's 8 years.
8 years. Yeah. I guess we could kind of call this sort of the NAFTA of soccer, right? We've got Canada and Mexico in on it as well. Although the championship game, the main event at the end, will be played in the U.S.
That's domestic.
But a lot of the preliminary games, so we hope that if Trudeau and Trump are still around by then, we hope that they're find a way to get along a little bit better.
I think they'll get along fine. I honestly, if you've watched what Trump does, he lives on drama and controversy, and where there's none, he'll create some. But he's also trying to get a better trade deal. I come back to this, just like we talked about it yesterday. If you're going to put tariffs on things the United States sends to you, then you have to expect the stuff you send to us will have a reciprocal tariff.
Yeah, I didn't understand this whole flap really in the context of everything this week. You have this historic event going on in Singapore with the leaders of North Korea and the U.S. And many commentators wanted to say, or would say something like, yeah, well, that's historic. But what about that? What about him ticking off Prime Minister of Canada? I mean, I think that from time to time, the U.S. and the allies have what I would call marital spouts, right? They have things where they argue and they are not getting along, but eventually they'll work it out. Canada's a great nation and a great friend, and Trump isn't president forever, and Trudeau isn't prime minister forever, and the relationship with Canada and the U.S. is solid, But I don't get that it had to be all of that had to be contained in the whole thing with North Korea. I guess we're 2 days now out of that historic day, and of course, lots of commentary coming in. And a lot of it negative about Trump, not detailed enough, didn't get assurances. It was not spelled out. All of that is coming out now. And my read on it is this. I think the Democratic Party leaders and those who generally oppose Trump, or even Republicans within the Republican Party who are asking questions. They're asking good questions. They're playing their role out. If this had been a Democrat who had gone over and met with Kim, the Republicans would have, I'm sure, been up in arms about the lack of detail and the lack of verification and a lot of other things as well.
Giving away the military drills, right?
Exactly. I mean, so I think it's all kind of a part of our healthy process. I don't read a lot into that. I think that these are questions that the president needs to be asked. He needs to be drilled on. He's not a monarch. He's not a king. He's not a dictator. So I don't get too bothered by that. If Schumer and the left want to be critical and ask the questions, I think we can agree on this. I think regardless of your political stripe, I'm going to venture to say that nobody wants a nuclear war. None of us want the threat of nuclear war. We would all like to see a nuclear disarmament on the Korean Peninsula. I think, though, at this point in time, as the politics play out, everybody wants to be able to claim that they had something to do with it, that their input mattered. And so I think that when we hear criticism from those who oppose Donald Trump, take it as criticism, take it as being honest questions. I'm not trying to stand up for them or whatever, but take it in the political spirit in which we do things around here in America, and eventually it will all be worked out or it won't. But everybody, I think, has a right to input and ask the right questions and eventually lead to something that will an outcome that will result in a more peaceful world.
Let's say good morning to our intern, Siobhan Hunter. Good morning, Siobhan.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
We missed you the last couple of days.
I know. I missed you guys, too.
Were you doing some college stuff?
No, actually, I had a doctor's appointment at 8 a.m.
That's important. You have to
well,
go to the doctor.
we hope you're okay. We think Sherry needs to go to the doctor, too.
She's about to go, actually.
Is she really?
Yes.
Oh, well, you have news that I don't have.
Came back from Florida, and I think she brought every disease Florida has back with her. The poor woman is so sick. She came in this morning, and I heard her. I said, "What are you doing here?" So she's made a doctor's appointment, and fortunately, they're going to see her this morning, so she's going to go off. But my concern for you, Siobhan, now is since she came into the studio where you are and talked to you, I think she breathes all her germs all over you.
Oh, gosh.
So we may be missing
think about
you.
that.
That's why we have you in that room.
Oh, no.
Hermetically sealed.
Glass enclosed.
Yes, glass enclosed room. Do not come out of that room and say hello to me today.
Dave's paranoid about being sick. He had a streak going of not missing work for almost 2 years, and it ended this past year.
This last winter, I was out for a week.
And you couldn't get rid of that thing either.
Couldn't get rid of it. It was terrible.
It stayed with you forever.
Absolutely. Siobhan, did you know that today is National Weed Your Garden Day?
I did not know
Okay,
that.
now you know.
Thank you.
We can all go home and weed our gardens today.
I do that constantly, and I have to because this year I added some topsoil to the beds. It was sorely needed, and some very new mulch. So I went out and I bought this stuff. It's a combination of the stuff that smells bad and topsoil. So sphagnum, I guess they call that or whatever. And I'm putting it down. I mean, it smells. So I'm putting the dirt in. And what I didn't count on was, while I was counting on it to be fertile enough to grow the tomatoes and the peppers and flowers and whatever, I didn't count on it being fertile enough to grow super weeds very quickly, So guess what came up first?
Oh, the weeds.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely, yeah.
I looked out one day, and it was almost like I planted a field of weeds. And so I had to go out there, and I'm hand-picking them because I didn't want to spray them because I'm trying to get actual good stuff to come up. And, the good stuff, like a broadleaf killer, kills anything broadleaf.
You did the wrong.
It doesn't discriminate.
You did the right thing.
So I'm popping one at a time. And they're in their young phase. This is like an infant weed. So they came out easily with the root and
An
all.
infant weed.
Right, in their
Okay.
beginning
All right,
stages.
yeah.
I did a weedectomy. Is what I
I
did.
just hadn't heard that term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at constant war with weeds in all of the gardens that we have. It's just part of. I think today should be National Weed Your Garden Day with cold beer. While drinking cold beer.
Because
day.
that changes the dynamic when
Well,
you
yeah.
describe it that way. Yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't know if you meant pour
No,
cold beer
I
on
meant
the weeds.
while
or,
drinking cold beer.
or I
Just
wasn't
saying.
sure.
Everybody has their own style when it comes to gardening. Some people just hire gardeners.
Lately, I don't know why, but this is having not showed up for quite some time. It's now back, and that is this habit of somebody else's dog crapping in my yard. I'm having the Travis Bishop issue going on in my front. I need to rent Travis Bishop for a couple of days.
You need to get the culprit on videotape.
TB, where are you, buddy? I need you to come by my house. Right? So I don't know whose dog it is. I don't know if it's different dogs. I haven't given a thorough examination to the evidence left behind enough to know that it shouldn't be there because I don't have a dog. So 2, maybe 3 times now in the last 2 weeks, while mowing the yard, I've come to the horrible, startling realization that I'm about to step in something I don't want to. And I did that once.
Wait, aren't you head of the homeowners association?
And apparently I'm being disrespected.
Yes, you are.
You know?
I don't think that's right. I think you need to send out a notice, and you need to you need to find the culprit. You need to get to the bottom of this.
Oh, they don't show themselves.
I'm not saying it would be easy. I just think you need to start a process. I think you need an investigation.
People who own dogs, and I've owned dogs in the past, all right? Mm-hmm. People who own dogs are very passionate, protective, and loving of the dog. But let me tell you something. None of them, there's yet to be a dog owner that I've met who will admit that their dog pooped in your yard.
Oh, you're absolutely right. If you send out a notice, I don't think that you're going to get someone
not one.
knocking on your door and saying,
I guarantee it.
Rob, it was my dog, and I'm sorry.
No, there will not be one dog owner. And if you're a dog owner who's ever admitted that your dog dutied in somebody else's yard, I am here for you to break the, tell me I'm wrong. 304-263-6540. But to this point, it is easier to get the North Korean dictator to meet with you to discuss nuclear disarmament than it is to get a dog owner to admit their dog pooped in your yard.
Not going to happen. That's why I think what you need to do in your neighborhood is start a local chapter of Poop Watchers. And if you start a local chapter...
Is that an official organization, by the way?
No, I just made it up. But, I mean, there should be an organization.
Savon, would you join an organization called Poop Watchers?
No, thank you.
No, come on, Savon. Think about it. What you do, you're doing your part in your neighborhood to be on the lookout and to have your iPhone, your smartphone, always available to catch that dog, and therefore you have evidence.
I don't blame the dog. The dog doesn't know.
It's not the dog, but you attach the dog with the dog owner,
who I'm after.
and then you go after him.
Think about this for a second.
And you could start like a neighborhood, kind of local court system.
Yeah.
So they could take their case to this local poop court. And
would it be called the LPC?
I think so.
Local poop court?
I think that's what it would be called, yeah.
Do we have to shouldn't it be described as dog first because
Yeah, probably.
There could be
Probably
any
we should
number of
make sure that it
miscreants.
because if your cat poops in the yard, it doesn't matter.
Do you even see it?
It's just dogs, yeah. And the big dogs. Was this a big dog?
Well, I would say this was a medium-sized dog.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the big dog go before, and those you can see from a distance. The medium dog is the one.
I would have never figured that a big. So actually, you would prefer a big dog.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about whether I'd rather step in it or not, the answer, of course, is no.
See, that's reverse thinking, but you make a very good point.
The big dog does afford you the warning of not
correct
accidentally stepping in it.
It's those medium-sized dogs
It's
because
the medium
they
one.
just yeah.
There's the problem.
There's the problem.
Now, my neighbor has a
medium-sized dog.
Small to medium-sized.
You know it's a neighbor. You're talking about your next-door neighbor?
My next-door neighbor does, but their dog is generally very good about not doing that.
Do you generally have a good relationship with this
Great.
family
We
next door?
vacation with them.
Okay.
Great relationship.
They're the ones going to the
But
lake with you.
Let me just say this. They're Caps fans.
Uh-huh.
And I have been getting a little bit of like for instance, my boys' birthdays are this month in June, and my wife posted some pictures on Facebook of my youngest one when he was wee little, and my next door neighbor posted, not bad for not bad for Penguins fans, or those boys are pretty good kids, not considering they're Penguins fans. So there might be a little layer of animosity.
So you're blaming this on Cap fans
and their championship, which I knew at some point would come back to haunt me.
So you have stuff in your yard, as a direct result then of the Caps winning the championship, defeating Pittsburgh, and it's all somehow all ties in together.
I hadn't really boiled it down to that or thought of it in that manner until you crystallized it.
But I
for
think
me.
you're getting somewhere, though.
I'm going to have to blame Ovechkin and Holtby for
Well,
this.
you need to identify how many Caps fans are on your block. Do you happen to know?
At least 2 households of them.
Okay, I would think right now do they have dogs?
Both do, yes.
They right now are the front runners.
So you think
right
that's
now.
where it's coming from?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we need to report that. You need to tell them we're going to report this on the radio every day until a solution is found to this. And I think that might frighten them. That might make them care.
See, it's good to talk these things out because previous to this morning, I hadn't put the connection together.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I think that...
I hold the Capitals responsible. Ted Leonsis is getting a letter from me.
Well, you go right to the top.
The owner of the Capitals is responsible for this.
How many people showed up in Washington yesterday?
I don't know. What was the number count? There was a sea of red I saw.
It was big.
On the televised coverage of it. It was pretty huge.
They were predicting 100,000, and it looked like at least that many.
Should be more in a city the size of D.C. They should have more than 100,000 turnout.
You would think.
Right?
I don't know. 100,000 seems like a pretty big crowd to me.
I don't think it's that much.
Well, in Pittsburgh, how many would show up?
Look at the metropolitan area of D.C. and its surrounding suburbs. And the federal government, I don't know if you know this or not, but the federal government gave out 2 hours of leave yesterday to federal employees who wanted to attend the parade.
How do you feel about that?
It seems wrong on its surface.
Why is that?
Because it seems like if you're at work, you should be at work. If you want to take the day off to go to the parade, you should take the day off to go to the parade. But to bug out of work, you could do it. I think it was between 10:30 and 2:30. You were allowed to bug out and go to the parade with excused leave.
With no hours taken off of your...
I don't think.
See,
I said to my wife, if you didn't go, could you leave 2 hours early and go home? And she said no. But you were able to get 2 hours of leave to go to the parade.
See, here's my thinking on that. Generally speaking, unless someone gives me an argument to the contrary, that if you take 2 hours off work, you need to take it off of your personal leave, your vacation time, take a doctor's visit, whatever it is, because all of those hours are counted in a job.
Absolutely.
I know that my wife works for a government entity here, local government, and if she takes 2 hours off, she has to, record those hours for whatever reason it might be.
Most certainly.
If it's not a vacation day. So that's wrong. Federal government should not be able to do that. I wonder who issues that edict
for
all federal employees.
I guess it comes from OPM, Office of Personnel Management, I presume, and I don't know where they get their permission to do it.
I'm surprised they have a right to do that.
But if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be corrected. But I'm reasonably certain that's what my wife, who's a Fed, told me that they were given 2 hours. She didn't go, of course. She's not a Caps fan, but she said nobody that she was in meetings with during the course of the day was missing, so they were all there at the where she works. But I don't know otherwise who went or how many federal employees went.
Those pharmacists and medical people, they're a serious bunch.
They are like health officers. As you point out,
I can't see them just taking 2 hours off for something as frivolous as a celebration for a winning hockey team. Because they're dedicated to their job.
Well, the nation has important business to attend to.
No, I just think that's really really odd that they got 2 hours off.
We have Delegate Jason Barrett after the 8:30 news break. Savant Hunter's handling all of our social media. Back today. Savant, you're back tomorrow and Friday as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And Savant will be taking care of anything you see on Twitter. At EPT_Rob and Dave is where you find us on Twitter. On Facebook, on our Talk Radio WRNR FM 106.5 AM 740 Facebook page, where you can see photos and all sorts of neat stuff that's going on there. And Savant had this idea, Dave, and I think this is a pretty good one. She was going to get us, we're not hip with the young crowd sometimes, Dave. You and I being older people who are.
Well,
I bet neither one of us has an Instagram account, right?
I do.
You do have an Instagram? For your business or for your personal?
Personal.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you on Instagram?
Boppy WV.
And how often do you post on Instagram?
Rarely.
Okay.
I'm not avid, but I do have an account.
Savon had the idea of giving us an Instagram presence where she would come in, take some video of some of our interviews, and get it posted on Instagram.
I love that.
Right? What do you think, Savon?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
It's our idea, so it should be a good idea.
because our goal is we want to make sure that no one in the Eastern Panhandle has an excuse not to hear what we have to say.
Of course.
I mean,
Ultimately, we want to invade your dreams
Yeah,
at night.
we're going to probably start sending DVDs in the mailbox to people who don't have radio.
Remember when the internet was new and you'd get from like AOL and what was it, Netstream or something like?
And if it took you 7 minutes to hook up, you thought that was a good time.
Yeah.
Like,
You remember that? You get these
what year was that? Like
CD-ROMs?
93, 94?
Yeah, but probably a little bit later, but yeah, around there.
Yeah.
You get those CDs in the mail from everyone who was trying to get you to use their
Oh, sure, yeah.
software to get online.
Right.
Right there, Netscape and
That was not very long after Al Gore invented the internet. Mm-hmm. That
Shortly
was happening.
thereafter.
Shortly thereafter.
Right.
Yeah.
I just remember getting
Will that be his legacy
in the
forever?
mail. The
what?
joke about it, sure. That really, when you think of Al Gore, I mean, you think more so than the presidential election. I think of that the very stiff, almost cardboard cutout Al Gore dancing with Tipper at the inauguration in '93, right?
Right, yeah.
Where he just
How about the big kiss in the convention?
the big kiss, and then when he lost, he kind of went off the grid with the beard.
Got divorced.
Right, got the big beard and everything, and then you just, other than talking about global warming.
Well, he did more than
climate
talk about
change.
it. I mean, he really
Made a movie
I think
about it.
Well, I think probably he's more responsible for bringing global warming to national consciousness than anyone I can think of.
Al Gore associated with that very much so.
Exactly right. I mean, it's really interesting what presidents, now in this case vice presidents, what they do when they leave office, especially if they're young, and how they choose to spend the rest of their life. I mean, look at Jimmy Carter. He has been. It was 40 some odd years ago that he was president.
Hard to believe,
He was president of the United States a very long time ago.
Got elected in '76. First year serving was '77, January '77.
I was 23 years old when he was elected president.
I was
It's a very long time. But
13.
look how productive he's been over those 40 years. He has really probably set the bar as high as any ex-president in history for what a president does after they leave office.
This segment of our program brought to you this morning by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Fields and Sons, family owned, full service, proudly serving our area since 1880. Up next, Delegate Jason Barrett. We're going to start to get into this flood relief money and what's been going on there with Delegate Barrett. And in the 9 o'clock hour, that and PEIA with Senate President Mitch Carmichael via telephone and Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair, whose day was rescheduled well enough that he can make it in studio in the 9 o'clock hour, too, which is pretty cool. It's 8:31.
Fire of a woman's scorn, turn her heart of gold to steel. I've got the song.
CBS News Update.
We had a very good feel right from the beginning, and we were able to get something very important done.
President Trump on Fox News, now back in the country. He tweets the U.S. no longer faces a nuclear threat from North Korea. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Seoul to brief South Korean leaders. CBS's Jason Struther.
South Koreans are still feeling very optimistic about this historic summit, although some confusion was made by remarks from the president saying that he plans to call off joint military exercises with South Korea.
CBS's Ben Tracy says the North is making the most out of the summit.
What the North Koreans are basically being told is that this was a great and historic meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. The front page of the newspaper in Pyongyang this morning had several big photos of the two of them, and they really are going out of their way to position Kim Jong-un as an equal to the President of the United States.
CBS News Update. I'm Peter King.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. 21-year-old Benjamin Campbell, who lives near Martinsburg, has been accused both of soliciting a 10-year-old girl in Ocala, Florida by using his computer and with having and distributing child pornography. Also, authorities say Campbell's admitted to communicating with dozens of underage people over the past 6 months. If convicted, Campbell could spend between 4 years and 20 years in prison. The PGA Tour has officially approved the rebranding of the Greenbrier Classic to a military tribute at the Greenbrier. The annual PGA Tour FedEx Cup stop at the Greenbrier in White Sulphur Springs will immediately begin using the new name and logo. Active military and veterans will be admitted to a military tribute at the Greenbrier free of charge, and they'll receive complimentary access to the Stars and Stripes outpost, an air-conditioned building that includes seating, televisions, private bathrooms, and food and beverages. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
It's been rather comfortably cool across the eastern panhandle for the last couple of days, but we do have temperatures getting closer to normal here for the next several as we round out this late spring, early summer period over the next 5 days or so. We will see temperatures well up into the 80s pretty much every day. Looking at a high of 86 this afternoon, the wind's coming in light from the south at about 10 miles per hour. An approaching cool front may bring a late day shower or a couple of thunder showers here and there, but by later evening, skies become clear once again, and temperatures drop back into the lower 60s. Sunshine ahead for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Highs in the lower 80s. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Downtown Martinsburg is the place to be for the Fridays at 5 Summer Concert Series from June 1st through August 31st. Enjoy great music and fun with well-known musicians, bands, and Martinsburg artists that'll liven up your spirits at the town square. Concerts begin at 5 p.m. and usually last until 7. Enjoy great music while visiting Martinsburg's Farmers Market, housed on East King Street, where you're able to enjoy fresh fruits and veggies, chicken and pork, and a lot more. Pets are allowed in the square during the concerts, provided they're on a 6-foot leash or less. For the full concert Summer Series lineup, go to MainStreetMartinsburg.com.
From the crack of the bat to the flash of the leather, Talk Radio WRNR's got your Nationals coverage all summer long.
Swinging a line drive deep left field. Stevenson back, way back at the wall. Leaps and makes the catch. Bangs into the fence and holds on. That's the second out of the inning. 2 out here at the bottom of the ninth. A spectacular catch by Andrew Stevenson.
Listen live on AM 740 and FM 106.5. Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports Radio station.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg.
The Wellness Center at Berkeley Medical Center has introduced a 10-week sports-specific training program called SPEED for 12 to 17-year-old athletes. The goal of SPEED is to evaluate each individual athlete, assess their deficiencies, and design programs to improve the athlete's performance. The new program for young athletes includes strength and conditioning coaching from the Wellness Center pros, as well as the Technogym equipment. If you're interested in building a foundation of long-term athletic success and injury prevention for your athlete, contact the Wellness Center at Berkeley Medical Center.
This segment of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave brought to you this morning by the Bank of Charlestown. We simplify your financial life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, the Bank of Charlestown. Rob here along with Dave and our intern Savant Hunter. And you can find us online, by the way, at talkradiowrnr.com. You can use the Talk Radio WRNR app to get us on your phone or mobile device. Anywhere that you travel, you can travel with us. You can get a live view of the show on cable channel 10 between 8 and 10 each day. We're live on television. And then if you miss the live TV part, you can get a video replay on YouTube. Go to YouTube, usually by about noon, and enter in WRNR TV. It's important that you put in WRNR TV because there is a WRNR FM radio station in Annapolis, Maryland.
But if you forget to put in the TV, it will come up on YouTube and with our logo.
Yes.
So
that's the one you want.
If you forget to put the TV part in, you'll find it.
But by specifically putting in TV, you'll get us.
Yes, you will.
And our channel there. Mm-hmm. You can also search for Rob and Dave Show. I put it on YouTube that way. And WRNR FM out of Annapolis has some interviews posted on YouTube as well. So you have to make sure you're looking for Rob and Dave. It can be a little confusing, but 40 years ago when Rick Wachtel, the original owner of this radio station and creator of it, had an opportunity for an FM, it was, of course, AM only at that time. He ceded the rights to the FM version of WRNR, and those letters eventually and ultimately were claimed by a station in Annapolis. So while we have an FM 106.5, it's not technically, officially WRNR FM. It's confusing, I know, but that's why I'm saying specifically you want to look for that on YouTube. So when you search for us on YouTube, put in WRNR TV. Also, you can get our audio replay off of Facebook and on our website, too.
You know, our theme song that we have when we come into the show, the theme song for the show at the very beginning.
Very, very beginning.
I'm not sure what the name of that song is, but I was listening to a commercial last night.
It's on there, yep.
And for Modelo beer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever heard the Modelo beer commercial?
Yep. Did you think our show was on?
I was the TV in the kitchen was on, and I was in the dining room, and I heard it, and I walked in. I said, "Hey, to Debbie, does that music sound familiar?" She goes, "Yeah, it's your music for the show." I said, "Well, how about that? We share that with a beer company."
It was also used in a car ad not too long ago, but the artist is Ennio Morricone, and it's called "Ecstasy of the Gold," the remix version, which appeared in the spaghetti western starring Clint Eastwood and some other bad dudes, including, I think, James Coburn was in that as well. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Remember that, class?
I do.
Yeah. That's what that was used in there.
I didn't know any of that. Thanks for the clarification.
Now, we were talking dogs in the last segment, and there is no bigger dog backer than Judy Boykin. And here's what Judy said.
Oh, she loves dogs.
In regards to cat duty, cat stuff stinks. Cats wreck your gardens.
She just sent you this text?
Yes.
Okay.
Goose poo is the worst. And I would tell you that when I was running the soccer program for the Lincoln-Urbana Youth Athletic Association a few years back, one of the fields, Oakdale Middle School's field, was, for whatever reason, a landing spot every year for the migration of the Canadian geese.
Yeah, and it's not just one goose that poos. It's about 500 geese that poo, and I've never figured out why they all go at the same time. They are so regimented. That goose that's at the front of the V,
yeah.
I don't know what he says. I don't know what command he or she gives, but there's clearly a command.
There's a command.
Yeah. It's like, all right, 3, 2, 1, Boykins, now!
Open up the pod bay doors. So they would cover the field. In fact, I got a call one day from one of the coordinators I had, and he said, "Did you have an aerator company come up and aerate the fields?" Because, when you aerate,
you have the little
plugs,
little clods of dirt.
Well, that's exactly what it looked like, those little plugs of dirt, except, and there was that many of them because all the geese land there. And there wasn't just like a dozen. There were hundreds of geese that would land on this field.
And was it grass or was it turf?
Grass.
Well, then it might act as a nice fertilizer then.
Not as well as you'd think.
Okay.
Judy says dog doo-doo should not occur in a yard where no dog lives, and I agree with that.
That's for sure.
That means
that's what we've been talking about.
Yes, that's my issue.
Right.
That means they have, I don't know what this is, FMDIG. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that abbreviation is. At large. That means they have dig at large. Give them a roll of pool bags. Then they need to pick it up. Years back, a St. Bernard neighbor left his load right on our doorstep, so I boxed it up with a bow, and put it on his family's doorstep. It never happened again. That was Judy's way of solving the dog doo-doo problem.
See, if someone's walking along the street in front of me and their dog poos on my yard, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it's in the country. Maybe, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's okay. Now that I've announced that.
Here you go.
Because everybody on my block listens.
Everybody whose dog needs to go can congregate in David Welch's yard.
Yep.
And he doesn't care. In fact, he welcomes it.
I don't welcome it, but if they do, they do. It
sounded to me like you welcome it.
My dog goes out and poos all the time.
It sounds like you're inviting it.
Yeah, I don't think that I was.
Like the more the better.
I don't think I was sounding like that at all.
I think it sounds like you want to break the record for most dog load left in a yard.
Well, let me clarify then. All I was saying is if your dog has to go and you happen to be walking past my yard and he, needs to do his business, it doesn't bother me if he or she does his business in my yard. It's okay.
I'm going to take that as a...
Now, I don't mow my own yard.
Oh, that's why it's okay. Because I think that's disingenuous.
Well, I know, but I mean,
that is completely disingenuous.
Tyler, who mows there, he sits down on a lawnmower. He doesn't walk, so it's not that big of a deal.
Well, okay, so let's say it builds up, and he's going by with his riding mower, and it's starting to. He's instead of mulching that day, he's shooting the grass out the side, and along with the grass goes what's in the grass, and it goes all over your wife's front windows of the house.
You know, that's just not going to happen, Rob. You've created, and maybe the solution to all this for you, back to you now.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a sit-down lawnmower.
No, I like to walk.
Yeah,
it's good exercise.
I don't blame you for that.
It's not like I have 10 acres of land either. I don't.
I had a yard once in Virginia many years ago, and it was an acre lot,
which is a good size,
but it was on a hill. You know, it was the whole thing sloped down to the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I mowed my own yard, and I had to wear my golf cleats because I couldn't walk up the hill without sliding. So
been there.
People would ask me, "Hey, David, why are you wearing your golf cleats?" You know, and they were the kind of golf cleats that had the metal spikes in them.
Oh, the old style.
Yeah,
those are, you can't use those anymore unless you're a pro golfer.
Is that right?
Yeah, you have to use the rubber cleats now.
Oh, okay. When did that happen?
About 15, 20 years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
I know this because about 15 years ago, I had gone a good 5-6 years without golfing, and my next door neighbor at the time, who hasn't been in that house now since about 2003 or 4, maybe like 2, he said, "Hey, you want to go golfing this weekend? It's kind of nice." So I said, "I haven't played in a while." He goes, "Oh, come on." So we went out, and I showed up, and I had on my metal tipped golf cleats, and the starter said, "You can't wear those here."
The last time I golfed was probably about a decade ago, and I know that I wore mine and no one said anything. So that's why I was asking when that happened. But I did not know.
It was total beginner's luck that day too. It's funny what you remember, because I actually that day on a par 3, I teed off and was right of the green, and on my second shot from about 30 yards away in the rough, I chipped in. And
really?
I put the club down.
For a par?
Yeah, no, for a birdie.
For a birdie?
And I
My goodness.
hadn't played in like 5, 6, 7 years. And I put the club down, and I said, "Let's go to your car and go home." I'm not going to tie. This is terrible luck. I said, "I'm not going to beat that."
But that's the kind of shot that they say will bring you back, right? Even on a terrible day of golf. I used to golf a lot, but I mean, I haven't been out in a very long time. But I'm if I do go, you've just saved me a ton of embarrassment, haven't you?
Maybe.
2 things would happen if I took those out. Number 1, they would be illegal. And number 2, it would be like, "Hey, there's the guy that hasn't golfed in 20 years. But my shoes still look pretty good.
That's how you would know.
My shoes still look pretty good.
They haven't dry rotted or anything?
No, I assume they fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Feet may have changed. You've gotten older.
Too bad I can't swing a club.
The Greenbrier Classic has been renamed a military tribute at the Greenbrier. What do you think of this move?
I think it's trying too hard.
To do what?
I don't know. It just seems like it's you're taking a branded name, the Greenbrier Classic. The Greenbrier deserves to be called the tournament, I think, a classic because it's at the Greenbrier. Look, I'm all for any opportunity to celebrate our military. I really am. But this just sounds to me like Jim Justice is just trying too hard to make a point. It just doesn't sound like it sounds like, to me, the local service clubs all got together and decided to have a golf tournament to celebrate local veterans and not like a PGA tournament, to me.
We want the world to know that the military comes first, and our focus is on those men and women above everything else, said Governor Jim Justice, whose family, of course, owns the Greenbrier Resort. Our new name reflects our commitment to celebrating and honoring the United States military with everything we do.
Sounds like a gimmick to me.
The Greenbrier is scheduled for July 2 through 8 this year. Military Appreciation Day will be Tuesday, July 3. All veterans and active military will be presented with a voucher for a complimentary lunch.
Now, I like that. You could have a day before the Greenbrier Classic, have Military Appreciation Day.
Mm-hmm.
Give all military a discount on green fees. Do whatever you want for them. I mean, I think that's great. Have the Appreciation Day. Honor the military. Have a ceremony before it starts. But to rename the thing sounds like a little too gimmicky for me, like something a PR guy might have thought up.
They'll do a flyover on the 4th, July 4th.
Hope no one's putting at the time. That would be very distracting.
Well,
Wouldn't that be distracting? Getting ready to serious putt. You're going for the birdie there on number 6, and all of a sudden,
that's now the 4th is a Wednesday this year, so it wouldn't be during the tournament, but it'd be like a practice round or whatever.
Oh, well, that's different then. Yeah,
so that's when they will.
I
do
thought you
the
meant like right during the tournament.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay with that there.
That'd be terribly distracting if they did it that way.
Yeah, we're by the way, Jason Barrett, Delegate Barrett, is scheduled to be with us in this segment, and he's been delayed. So in the 9 o'clock hour,
he's a very busy man.
He is. Yeah. We're going to get into this whole RISE thing and funding. What's going on with the funding for flood relief victims? They say, according to the articles I've read now, that it's starting to move along a little bit more quickly, but for 2 years it's been bogged down so that a very small percentage of money has actually gotten to people who need it. There was a story on the West Virginia Metro News website about a family living in a trailer without running water or heat or electricity.
For 2 years.
2 years. And repeated efforts to get in touch with people for assistance had gone nowhere, and ultimately they are the ones who started this whole thing by sending a letter to Governor Justice's office and getting in touch with them and finally getting some of this ball rolling, so to speak. Flood victim William Hanshaw of Kanawha County reached out to the governor's office several times, starting as early as November 2 of 2017. So this is something we're going to talk with also Senator Blair and Senator Carmichael about, too, to find out when they became aware of this. Delegate Riley Moore yesterday told us the legislature is now acutely aware of this situation. We're also going to get into
$150 million.
Yes, has been available, $149,875, and the state still has $148,736 left. So they spent about $1 million out of the almost $150 million.
Just sitting there.
Right.
And these are mostly, well, we'll get more clarification, but just to get this framed up, this is money that's been sitting somewhere in a lockbox, just waiting to be given out to people such as the family you're talking about to rebuild their home.
Also, we're going to talk more about PEIA as well. All the hearings have been concluded around the state. I believe there were 24 of those.
Either 22 or 24. I can't remember. One of the two.
One of the themes, Senator Carmichael, as I read, one of the themes that he said was clear was that the teachers want or service personnel as well, I suppose, want a tax increase of some sort to be able to permanently fund PEIA. I'm not sure that a tax increase is something that's going to happen.
Well, over the past, 4, 5, 6 years, as it's been, messaged in campaigns, it usually in West Virginia and perhaps across the nation has been a more popular thing to be against higher taxes than to be for them. Usually people who are for higher taxes, they have not consistently been winning campaigns lately.
Generally speaking, that's correct.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be in favor of higher taxes to pay for PEIA fixes if I was a person who was not contributing to PEIA. If I'm just a regular Joe who isn't covered by PEIA, I would probably think to myself, I've got enough of my own issues trying to cover my own insurance costs. I'd have a hard time saying to myself, I'm going to pay more so teachers don't have to have a copay or a deductible or their premiums ever go up. I probably would not be in favor of that, no matter how much I love and respect teachers.
And I would imagine there are a lot of people who are in that same camp with you, and they might also be thinking, just wait a minute, we just gave them a 5% raise, and now they want to raise my taxes to make sure that they don't get any increase in their insurance premiums.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point in time, as the teachers continue their march towards greater compensation, whether that's in a pay raise, another pay raise next year, or in tax increases for their health insurance, what they need to be looking at is public mood. I think one of the things that really helped teachers this last year was that, generally speaking, I think they had the public behind them. I think most of the public were saying, yeah, we need to compensate our teachers better. I'm going to reward senators and delegates running for office who supported our teachers and got behind them, and I'm okay with that. If not totally for it, at least I'm okay with it. But where's the breaking point? At what point does the public say, and we've been asking this question all throughout this, and we can ask the two senators later on, at what point does the public say, enough? I mean, I'm all for teachers, and I want them to be compensated as well as they can. But there can come a time where they say, you know what, enough. It's enough. I don't want my taxes raised.
And I think, and we talked with Wendy Bird earlier this week, and if the tact and the approach from the teachers is going to be that we don't want deductibles and we don't want copays, we don't want our premiums to go up ever. If that's going to be the approach, and the idea on the way to fund that is a tax increase, depending on the tax increase, they could lose favor and they could lose out on public opinion. Now, one of the tax increases that they're pitching is an increase in the severance taxes or the extraction industries. And I think most citizens in the state would probably go, I don't know, do I pay that? Does that affect me? If I don't pay that, then I don't care, raise taxes on somebody else. But I know that we've had discussions with Republican legislators who tell us that that's just a horrible idea because of the competitive pricing structure around the surrounding states and all the border states that West Virginia has. So they tell you that that's not a good idea. If it's an increase in the sales tax, something that you pay, I think if you're going to say, do I want to pay more in sales tax so the teachers don't have to have a deductible or a copay or ever have their premiums go up, I think a lot of people will go, no. I got to cover enough of my own costs. Sorry.
Here's where I think there might be an exception, and I'll speak for myself as one who does not like to pay higher taxes, likes to see government live within its means. I would be open, just as a voter, to the idea of changing the educational system so that it's more local based. So in other words, would I pay higher property taxes? Would I pay my fair share of higher property taxes if I knew that money was staying, in my county to support my local county school in order to pay our teachers in our county more money? I think I might be for that.
Which you have an option, although it's capped.
It's capped.
But there is a local levy that does support higher teacher salaries in Berkeley County.
It is. I don't think it is. It's something. But I think that West Virginia at some point should join the rest of the modern world, which is most of the other states, where a local school district is able to essentially, with state aid, they all get state aid at some level, but is able to say, here in our area we have unique needs. Let us be more autonomous, more independent. Let us, have a more locally funded school system. It just seems to me that should be the way it's done.
Dale Lee, the head of the WVEA, has said if you want to do it with a local levy, do it that way, but we're not going to do it around the state. We're not going to risk having teachers from McDowell County flock to Berkeley County because the salaries are better in Berkeley County. And I always find fault with that argument because you're not going to find a house anywhere near the same price in Berkeley County that you're going to find in McDowell County.
I said this yesterday. I'll say this again. I think I said it was yesterday. This campaign that they had in the work stoppage this last winter that resulted in a 5% pay increase for teachers and public employees. The motto was 55 strong. Unless I'm told otherwise, I believe that at some point in time it won't be 55 strong. At some point in time, I think there's going to be teachers organized in the richer counties like Berkeley and Jefferson County and Morgan County that are going to say, look, we have unique needs. We need to change the system. And if we are making more money than a teacher in a poorer county, then that's just the way it is. That's reality. That's the way it is.
Think of Dale Lee's logic on this and reverse it. The fear is statewide, if you had locality pay, teachers from states where the pay was not as good would flock to the better paying, counties, would flock to the better paying counties. But look at the inverse of that. Are teachers from Berkeley County flocking to other parts of the state where the cost of living is less because their salary will be just about the same? Are we seeing a mass exodus from Berkeley and Jefferson County to go to McDowell County because your buck will go further there because the price of a house is about a tenth of what it is here? Are we seeing that?
I don't think we are.
So why would we see the reverse of that?
I don't think we would. I think it's a political, with all due respect to Dale Lee and the teachers organization, and they do a lot of good. And I think they fight for their members, but it's just a ridiculous argument. And our teachers here, at some point in time, are going to get upset to the point of standing up, I think, to the teachers union, that their pay increases here where they need to have it, and their compensation overall is being tied to teachers elsewhere in the state. And I just think that at some point in time that needs to be dealt with. And I'm just saying, as a taxpayer, I would vote for higher property taxes myself, a reasonable amount of higher property taxes. Keeping in mind, folks, that I'm not campaigning for higher taxes, but when you look at our property taxes and you compare them with neighboring counties, we all like to use the neighboring county thing, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very convenient argument. All the time we need higher this or higher that because look in Washington County or Frederick County or whatever it might be, they pay their cops more, they pay everybody more. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, they're paying 3 times what you're paying in property taxes too,
if not more. What do you pay annually in property taxes?
I think it's right around $1,800 to $2,000 a year in property taxes and you've seen where I live. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's ridiculous. What we pay in property taxes is ridiculous.
Ridiculous in a low way.
It's ridiculously low.
So how much more would you pay without objecting?
Pardon me?
How much more would you pay without objecting?
I don't know.
Would $500 a year more bother you?
I'd be happy to pay $500 more.
1,000?
Maybe.
1,500?
I don't know. It depends on it. To me, it would depend on what it was being used for. But I would not mind having my property taxes raised to a level that would, if everybody else's were being raised to a level that would support the best schools ever in our area.
What if they did?
I believe in that.
What if they did property taxes the way PEI assesses premiums, based on income? Would you go for that?
No.
Then if they raised property taxes, it would affect people who didn't make as much money much worse than you.
Well, you don't know how little money I made this year.
9 o'clock, this is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Zoom Video Conferencing.
I'm Peter King. The U.S. and Mexico and Canada may be fighting about trade and tariffs, but the 3 countries stand together on soccer after the announcement this morning that they'll host the World Cup in 2026.
For the second time, the World Cup is coming to the U.S.
Canada, Mexico and USA have been selected by the FIFA Congress.
A joint bid involving the U.S., Mexico and Canada was awarded the 2026 event. The only other bid came from Morocco. This will be the first time 3 nations have shared hosting duties. 60 of the 80 matches, including the semifinals and finals, will take place in the U.S. The first match in the U.S. is expected to take place here in Southern California at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Steve Futterman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
President Trump has tweeted his approval about the World Cup and that the U.S. is now safer than before he took office after his deal with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. In a Fox News interview, he says he felt good about the talks from the start.
We had a very good feel right from the beginning, and we were able to get something very important done.
CBS's Ben Tracy says the North's interpretation of the agreement may be different from Mr. Trump's.
Before the summit, President Trump said he would not give the North Koreans anything until they completely denuclearize. But the North Koreans are now saying that they actually agreed to a step-by-step process, and that usually means North Korea gets incentives along the way.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Seoul to brief South Korean leaders on the meeting. Republicans who break with the president will pay the price, the latest South Carolina Congressman Mark Sanford, who lost to a challenger who supports Mr. Trump. That was in yesterday's Republican primary. CBS News political analyst Leonard Steinhorn.
Donald Trump went after him on a tweet, and that may have tipped it over in favor of his Republican opponent.
California voters get to decide on a plan that would split the state into 3 states this November. More on the proposal live from CBS's Vicki Barker.
The Cal 3 initiative is sponsored by Silicon Valley billionaire Tim Draper. Voters will be asked to decide if California should be split into 3 jurisdictions.
That would be up to each of those new states to form their own state government.
Cal 3 spokeswoman Peggy Grandy, even if the initiative passes, it might not get through Congress. The last time U.S. lawmakers approved a carve-up was 1863, when West Virginia split from Virginia during the Civil War. Peter?
Firefighters are battling a new wildfire in Colorado about 60 miles west of Denver. Small but threatening about 1,300 homes. Fire Chief Jeff Barino says nothing has been lost yet.
Our tactics initially were an aggressive air attack and structure protection, as well as evacuation.
S&P futures are up 3. This is CBS News.
Zoom video conferencing, featuring video and audio clarity with screen sharing. Free accounts are available at zoom.us. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
The backyard's looking great, Rob.
Thanks, man. I was planning on adding a deck, too. Know any good contractors?
Why don't you just ask Home Advisor?
Home what?
HomeAdvisor.com. You just tell them about your project and they match you with local pros that can do the job.
Nice. Now, how much does it cost?
Oh, Home Advisor's totally free to use. Plus, you can read customer reviews, check pricing, and book appointments for free.
What's the website again?
HomeAdvisor.com. Or just download the free Home Advisor app.
Home Advisor. It's time to join the millions of people using Zoom video conferencing. Turn any size conference room, huddle room, or executive office into a Zoom room with flawless HD video, crystal clear audio, and instant wireless sharing. It'll even work with your existing hardware. Start your meetings with a single touch or use Zoom's new voice command feature. Hey Zoom, start meeting. Huddle happy. Visit zoom.us to set up your free Zoom room trial today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Back in March, 31-year-old Michael McKinley of Hedgesville was found guilty of child neglect causing the death of an infant. A 14-month-old boy died in May of 2016, the result of contact with very hot bath water. McKinley got 3 to 15 years in prison. The child's mother, 26-year-old Brittany Ruill of Hedgesville, who left the child in McKinley's care when she knew him to be drunk, pleaded guilty Monday to child neglect. She was sentenced to time served plus 3 years probation. She'd been in jail for 300 days. West Virginia U.S. Senators Joe Manchin and Shelley Moore Capito joined a bipartisan group of a dozen senators in demanding the release of the results of a study regarding what levels of certain chemicals in drinking water are safe. The Environmental Protection Agency, according to recent reports, has been blocking the release of a Department of Health and Human Services study on some toxic substances. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
It's been rather comfortably cool across the eastern panhandle for the last couple of days, but we do have temperatures getting closer to normal here for the next several as we round out this late spring, early summer period over the next 5 days or so. We will see temperatures well up into the 80s pretty much every day. Looking at a high of 86 this afternoon, the wind's coming in light from the south at about 10 miles per hour. An approaching cool front may bring a late day shower or a couple of thunder showers here and there, but by later evening, skies become clear once again, and temperatures drop back into the lower 60s. Sunshine ahead for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Highs in the lower 80s. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
WVU Medicine welcomes Dr. Sarika Bagri to the staff at WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood. Dr. Bagri is board certified in internal medicine and is now accepting new patients at Primary Care Inwood, conveniently located at 5047 Jaredstown Road, Suite 2B in the Inwood Medical Building. For more information or to schedule an appointment with Dr. Bagri, call WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood at 304-229-6343. 304-229-6343.
Hey fans, it's Johnny Castle from your Hagerstown Suns. It's another season of minor league baseball in the Hub City, highlighted by Antietam Brewery Tuesdays, Bark in the Park Wednesdays, the ever-popular Thirsty Thursdays, fireworks and giveaways on select Fridays and Saturdays, and of course Sunday Fun Days, where kids 12 and under can run the bases following the games. It's 70 games of fun and excitement with the Washington Nationals Class A affiliate. For tickets or more information, head to HagerstownSuns.com. The Hagerstown Suns, big league baseball in your backyard.
The best bargains in baseball are back at Nationals Park in 2018, now with new, lower pricing. Purchase a special Bud and Baseball ticket and get a free 16-ounce draft beer. Families can save too with Harris Teeter Family Fun Packs. Each pack features a game ticket and a free meal combo, which includes a hot dog, chips, and a drink. Both special offers start at $20 and are available online only. For these and other great values, check out our ticket deals at nationals.com.
Welcome back to the program. This segment of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, brought to you by Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 east of Martinsburg, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. 304-263-6586, the number if you'd like to get through in this segment. Our other line occupied for a moment. We'll introduce our guests in just a second here and let you know also you can catch our program on FM 106.5, AM 740. Also on Comcast Cable TV Channel 10, complete with video. And if you miss the show live on TV, you can catch the YouTube replay. Usually by about noon, it's posted at WRNR TV. Search that on YouTube, and you'll find the program. And also the audio archives are available on our Facebook page and also at talkradiowrnr.com, where you can also listen online if you're outside the range of our radio signal or you just don't have the app on your phone.
Which means that if we happen to say something ridiculous during the show, it's all recorded. You can go back and listen to it.
Unless I edit it out. I do have creative control of the show, so I can't edit out anything that makes me look bad and enhance anything that makes you look bad.
Yeah, and by the way, I think I'm officially on probation now since I went on...
Height busted up my phone when you started campaigning for higher taxes.
Yeah, he wanted you to turn off my microphone.
You may not be back
which
tomorrow.
Demonstrates that the management has no editorial control over what we say on the show.
On the left side of where I sit, but certainly not there politically, is the Senate Finance Chair, Craig Blair. Good morning, Senator Blair.
Good morning. So you're going to edit out all the poop stories that you had in the last hour?
Heavens, no. People love poop stories. And have you ever noticed that every family has a few good poop stories?
Oh, there's no question about it. I can't tell mine.
I go, nor can we tell ours either.
Our listener, Roy, did say that you'd change your tune about your front yard, Dave, if your grandchildren stepped in it and brought it into your house on the rug.
Something to think about.
Roy also says...
My grandchildren, though, are teenagers, and so they would, I would hope, know that they would wipe their feet before they came in.
Okay, I got to get a bigger story on.
They're little kids.
My driveway at this time of the year is in the flight path of not geese, but some type of bird that comes across, and it is just white pepper, and my vehicle parks there. And it's every year for about 2 months solid. And this year it's not as bad because we're getting rain. And I was telling my wife this morning, I was going to say this on the air. Everybody that mowed their grass yesterday that are listening in their car right now, blow your horn. Because everybody, I look at it, every yard is manicured today because yesterday was our window of opportunity to mow grass.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you mow yours?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
I didn't see a house on my street that did not have a freshly mown lawn yesterday evening when I went out to eat dinner afterwards.
Property values just went up.
See, I used to have a boat, and it was docked on the Ohio River near Pittsburgh. And it was like a 42, 43-foot houseboat, and it was all white, brilliant white. I kept it clean. And then at the same time, for most of those years, I had a dark green or a dark brown car. And I could never understand why all the birds that pooped on my dark car, they poop white. And all the birds that pooped on my white boat pooped purple. And it was just like, it's like they're just out to get you.
This has been the most disgusting show we've ever done, hands down.
I'm glad to be here.
That would be the one and only Senator Craig Blair, Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. Welcome, sir.
And if you want to get a real good story, we have to go to the Senate President, Mitch Carmichael, who joins us now on the WV Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Mitch, good morning. I'm going to give you a chance to top Craig's story with a bird poop story of your own, if you have one hand.
No, I'm very hesitant to even join this conversation.
It would not be good for your reputation, sir, if you were to do so.
But good morning, everyone.
Well, good morning to you. This really
the
wasn't...
most disturbing thing I heard is somebody said they were advocating for tax increases.
that was the guy to my right here. David,
now, Greg, Mitch, I want to clarify that if you don't mind. We were having a theoretical discussion in the earlier time period, and the theoretical discussion was, would I pay more in property taxes if it were to go to support local Berkeley County schools and school teachers, so as to make it more competitive with our surrounding counties in Washington and Virginia? And my answer to that was yes. If I knew where my higher property taxes were going, I would be willing to do that. I live on several acres of land in a beautiful house, and I pay $1,800 in property taxes. And I think, well, I could probably afford to pay a little bit more if I knew it was going to support teachers. So there's my clarification.
I got the context now. You're right in that other states have much higher property taxes than does West Virginia.
We were getting into that topic because of locality pay, something that came up during the course of our conversation earlier this morning, and we'd been talking about this subject for years here on this program, and we've had Dale Lee on, the president of the WBEA, who's adamantly opposed to locality pay, but says if local jurisdictions want to deal with that, they can through their own levies. But are those levies not capped, Mitch and Craig, as to how much control a local community has with that levy?
You want to go, Mitch?
The short answer is yes, they are capped.
Yeah, and I think we're at maximum levy here in Berkeley County.
I think you're right, Senator.
You brought this up before on my way in here, and in Berkeley County, we vote for the excess levy. In fact, in Mitch's county, Jackson, they just approved one. But in Berkeley County, the voters actually subsidize the teachers with the excess levy of a tune of $9,998. That's just $2 less than $10,000
per teacher per year on salary.
For teachers, yeah. The salary supplement itself is $5,634. Sick bonus $1,500. Housing is $900. PEI subsidy is $264. Dental subsidized additional $1,500. Eye exams $60. Contacts $100, and frames $40 for a total of $9,998. And do something similar to for the school service personnel that comes out to being $7,144. The voters do that, so that's it.
That's just the levy that supports that much.
The excess levy, yes. And this information comes from the Berkeley County Schools. What I just read off to you.
Good information.
So that's one of the reasons why I was concerned when we were doing the pay raises, that the voters may actually say, no, you just got a pay raise. We're going to vote ourselves a tax decrease by voting down the excess levies. I was wrong. I am glad I was wrong for that matter. It's my understanding all three excess levies that was on the ballot in the primary, one of them was in Morgan County, one of them was in Jackson, and I forget the other county. Seems like it was Doddridge or Tyler, but they all three of them passed, is my understanding.
Is there a reason why the legislature caps how much a county can assess on a levy?
Well, it's not actually the legislature's done. It's the Constitution in West Virginia.
I see.
So that was put in place, post-Depression when people were apparently losing their homes due to, economic stress, and therefore the Constitution was approved to cap these levy rates and to cap property taxes. So that's an historic sort of marker that West Virginia lives with that many other states do not.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to it that, our property taxes are assessed at 60%. And if we put it to the voters that allow it to go to 100%, it could actually change the dynamics on how all other taxes are done in the state of West Virginia.
Yeah, he's right about that.
It would go. It's one of the things constitutionally. And by the way, the benefit of this is West Virginia has the highest home ownership of any state in the nation, and that is because of the way the taxes are set up as well. It works to the benefit to be a homeowner. From that standpoint, but I see it as detrimental. But I'm a revenue neutral guy. I don't want to see tax increases. So if you change the property taxes, I want to see an equal reduction somewhere else, whether it's the personal income tax, whether it's sales tax, whatever it may be. Frankly, I'd do personal income tax and not the sales tax. You've got everybody from preachers to prostitutes that are working for cash. I figured that we got a 20% underground economy in the state of West Virginia, and the only way that you capture those revenues is in the form of a consumption tax, a sales tax of sort. But you know, they say, well, you tax cigarettes to deter the usage of cigarettes. So why are we taxing people going to work if that's the case in the form of personal income tax? That's why the Senate itself actually explored that in our tax reform committee to see whether we had the potential to be able to do that, because I believe that you're going to bring in the 20% cash economy. That's going to help us out. From that standpoint, and you're able to lower taxes down, get more people back to work. Keep in mind, we got less than 50% workforce participation in the state of West Virginia. That is a big, big problem.
Well, let's come back to some of those issues if we have the time. But I think while we have the Senate President and you here at the same time, we certainly are eager to get your insight into these 20-plus hearings that you've had around the state. Both of you are on this panel, and that's a lot of hearings to have had. And the data collected and the opinions that you've listened to over these past several weeks must be just enormous. Interested in kind of where you go from here? What have you learned? What are your insights? And where are we as everyone sort of collectively works to try and, quote unquote, fix PEIA?
Okay, Mitch, you ought to take this one because he's on the outreach subcommittee for the task force. And what you were at 20 of the 21 of hearings. Is that correct, Mitch?
Well, no, I probably was able to attend about half of the hearings.
Oh, okay.
I probably attended as many as anyone on the task force, on the outreach task force. And David and Rob, we kind of had a common theme as we went around. It's interesting how from the northern tip of the state to the eastern panhandle to the southern to the western parts of the state and in the middle, all essentially had 3 or 4 common themes that they were expressing, many of the participants in the program, about their concerns regarding PEIA. And I think you can probably categorize them as such. One was the affordability. Many people feel that it's it's a high-cost system. Although when you compare it to surrounding states and other insurance programs in the private market, it's really not anywhere close to unaffordable, or it's overpriced as it compares to the competing programs in the private sector and other public entities throughout other states. It's just not. But there is West Virginia has some low wages and so forth, and we're trying to right that wrong. But so there's a concern about that. Many don't want to pay any co-pays, don't want any deductibles, and certainly don't want any premium increases moving forward. So that's one of the themes. The second theme is accessibility, particularly in the eastern panhandle. Many of the people want to be able to access their health care in Winchester and surrounding contiguous counties in the other states. So that makes a lot of sense to us. I mean, I think we absolutely need to look at having the PEIA board review that outreach and understand that there are geographic issues that lead one to go to other states for health care. So that, and then the third thing really was about the formularies for drug usage and so forth. Much of the cost of PEI or public insurance program is related to the pharmaceutical cost, and so every insurance company has a formulary that that the participants utilize, the approved drugs, those kind of things. And within PEIA, they've been making changes to that formulary twice a year. So someone might go to a doctor, have a prescription, it's covered, they go back, get the prescription for the same drug, and it's all of a sudden not covered. So we realize that that's an issue that needs to be addressed. And So I think it's good for the public to have their input, absolutely, and we're happy to hear it, and we want to do everything we can to fix this problem that we inherited as the new Republican leadership.
Mitch Carmichael on the telephone with us, courtesy of the WU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. He is the Senate President, and the Senate Finance Chair is Craig Blair. He's with us in studio here as we talk about the 20-plus hearings that took place around the state and recently one at Spring Mills High School about PEIA. Craig, what committee are you on with the PEIA board there?
I'm on cost and revenue.
Cost and revenue.
And so cost and revenue, we look at it two ways. One is the savings, where we can make changes in PEIA that has the potential to actually save money and keep costs down. And then and I have a multitude of those. I've been working full steam ahead on those, where it's redundant testing, telemedicine, the prescription drug cost. I met with a guy the other day on the dental plan that showed that in the private sector, what we're paying for, what is available for our dental plan could cost between $2 and $3 less per month per person. That's big savings on that. So I'll be going in prepared for that. And then we're also looking at, revenues. You hear the gas, natural gas tax, increasing the tax on gas. That is one that really isn't sustainable, because as we just come off a terrible time budgetarily in the state of West Virginia for the last 3 or 4 years, because the price of natural gas and coal fell through the floor. And if you want a sustainable revenue stream that for PEIA, that is not the path that you want to go. It sounds good. It makes great. We got a guy, Senator Ojeda, that's campaigning down there for the 3rd Congressional District, using this as a campaign issue. But the fact of the matter is, he's wrong. From that standpoint, it doesn't work. If it did, then we'd leap onto it. And I got to say something here real quick. We're Republicans. We're in the business of fixing the state of West Virginia. PEIA is one of the things that clearly needs fixed. Mitch left something out that, if you don't mind, Mitch, I'm going to throw this in there, of customer service. And I find that PEIA has done a terrible job in managing the customer service, communicating with the members and what's going on, communicating as well with the legislature. There is no reason in the world why you can't, when we're paying for
Does that come from the teachers, that complaint that you just...
it comes from everybody that's a member of PEIA,
Okay,
which,
gotcha.
by the way, I am not.
Okay.
I'm not on PEIA, even though I'm eligible, and legislators are eligible to be on PEIA.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, done same way for school board members as well, except for they pay 100% of their premium.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's there from that standpoint. But the Finance Committee is actually going to have a joint committee with the Energy Committee at 11 o'clock, not this Monday, but the following Monday, on severance taxes, so that we can actually educate everybody on what's going on and learn as well on what is going on with our severance taxes in the state of West Virginia, so that you can make good decisions, because you can't do these things on emotionally. And that's one of the things about the pay raise that we dealt with this year. There's a lot of people emotional about the pay raise. I get it. But the fact of the matter is, I can't operate on emotions. I have to operate on knowing what's in the checkbook, what we're capable of doing, and how we can shift money around to be able to manage that. And that's exactly what we did. Mitch and I both did. We worked well together on these things.
And you're a pretty emotional guy too, Craig. So I'm just...
absolutely. But emotional is a wrong word for me. Passionate.
There you go.
Is probably a better word to describe where I'm at. I get excited about things, but the decisions I make are rarely emotional. I think things through, and I don't make quick decisions unless I see that, wait a minute, there is no other avenue. So, and I figured out how to get to 4%. We did that in the Senate.
Your approach seems to me to be the approach that a business owner would take to a problem.
Imagine that.
There you go.
He's a business owner. It's 9:26. Senate President Mitch Carmichael is with us via the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair is with us in studio, and we'll be right back with more after this.
It's the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg. Stop in now for great deals on a great line of Jeep products. Get $1,000 cash back on a 2019 Jeep Cherokee with financing at 0% for 60 months. How about a new 2019 Cherokee Latitude 4x4, only $219 a month, or a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK for only $296 a month. Get bonus cash up to $6,000 off a 2018 Renegade, plus $500 trade. Stop by and test drive a Chrysler Pacifica and get free movie passes. It's all at the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
Life is complicated, but your finances shouldn't have to be. At BCT, we simplify your financial life. Bank of Charlestown is a locally owned community bank with 7 conveniently located offices serving the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, Middleburg, Virginia, and their newest office in Hagerstown, Maryland. With over 140 years of experience, BCT is the tri-state area's choice for fast, convenient, and hassle-free banking solutions. Whether you are a high school senior looking for a student checking account, a college graduate purchasing a new car, a first-time home buyer, or investing for retirement, BCT has flexible solutions to fit your lifestyle. BCT is committed to providing everyday ways to simplify your financial life. Also, make sure you are following BCT on Twitter and Instagram at MyBCT or like their Facebook page to see how BCT reinvests local deposits back into the communities they serve. BCT, we simplify your financial life.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
This segment of our program brought to you this morning by Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. When it comes to your home, auto, farm, or business, we're trusted, reliable, and experienced at Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. Rob here along with David Welch, our intern, Savon Hunter, our producer is Sherry Dieter Davis, who's been to the doctor and back, by the way. She's
during the show, she's already gone and come back.
That's how efficient she is. She's really quite amazing.
I would have suggested that perhaps she just go home and crawl into bed today.
In studio, Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair, and via the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line, Senate President Mitch Carmichael. We were on PEIA and the recently concluded hearings. The last one was in Charleston, I believe, and some solutions that might come from these 20-plus hearings that took place around the state. Craig Blair was on a committee that was looking at costs and savings, and Senator Carmichael was, what was yours, the finance end of it, Mitch?
It was the community outreach or participant outreach program in which we went to. There were 21 different hearings scheduled around the state in different localities that were announced. They were public events. They're streamed live. They're recorded on video, and it gives people an opportunity to express their concerns about PEIA and offer solutions as to what they feel would, quote-unquote, fix the program.
Ultimately, with the information gathered, will it be an option to essentially throw this information together in something that the voters can decide on? They can vote as to what they think the solution should be?
I don't think the expectation is to develop a ballot initiative out of this program. You know, it's the legislature's not responsibility, so to speak, but we've kind of been tasked with fixing this problem that has, or perceived problem that has been festering for 30 years. At one point in time, Rob, the doctors wouldn't even take PEIA. There was a real crisis in West Virginia that many of the participants would go to the physicians and doctors and tell them that they're on PEIA, and doctors would shy away from it because of a slow pay or very low reimbursements. Some of those problems that we've been able to solve over the years, but have still, based on previous leadership in the legislature and previous administrations, just have not been corrected. And then all of a sudden, it kind of lands in our lap, and we're trying desperately to fix and satisfy the participants in this program with a world-class healthcare system.
Yeah, I want to add something to this. I wasn't going to be on this show this morning because I had a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock. And actually, it got canceled. And the reason for it is that my health insurance is United Healthcare, and the office that I've been dealing with for years is no longer taking United Healthcare. And so this is
your doctor's office.
My doctor's office.
Really?
Yeah, the primary care physician.
And you just found out about that?
I found out about it a day ago or whatever,
Okay.
whenever I texted Rob and said, hey, I can come in now because I can't go there. And it would have been $200 out of pocket otherwise. So I have to be able to manage that. And it's because they lost a doctor that qualified them for being in United Healthcare. But this is the reason I bring this up is I want the people listening, especially the ones that are on PIA, to understand this is not just a problem that is unique to PIA. It's unique to all of us out here.
Yeah, nor is it a problem just unique to teachers and public employees, because I think today in this culture and society that we live in, we're all kind of wrestling around with what to do with rising health insurance rates. I mean, this is a national problem, not just a West Virginia problem.
Absolutely, but most of the time they don't want to hear that, and I understand that that's the case. But we have the PEIA board and Ted Cheatham that's down there to be able to manage this. This isn't really a legislative thing, but we're coming in now and having to address this because it is a problem. I'm fearful that the teachers are going to go on strike again in September or October, something like that, because PIA is not fixed, and we may not even have the timeline to be able to manage getting it fixed legislatively because, first of all, we're not in a 60-day session. It would take a special session to address something like that.
So here's what, senators, I'll throw this out to both of you. This is what you hear from teachers. Teachers say, when I got hired as a teacher, I accepted lower pay because I was going to get better benefits. And now what's happened is that PEI is costing me so much that it's actually, it feels like a decrease in compensation. Now, they just got the 5% raise. It seems to me that what teachers want most of all is a funding source mechanism that will take care of that issue. Is that going to happen at all? I mean, is there a likelihood that rate that they pay will be reduced to a level that where it was more in line with what they used to pay relative to their salary? I mean, to them, it seems that's what fixing PEIA is.
Well, Mitch, go ahead. You take it, and I'll follow up.
Well, I was going to say, when this program apparently, way before Craig and I's time in the legislature, was put in place, it was about and you're right, Rob, I think it was Rob that's saying that.
It was Dave, actually.
Okay, Dave.
It was the smart one.
Given as a free benefit, just free health care. And that program cost roughly $10 million years and years and years and years ago, decades ago. Now it's and I'm going to say this to make sure it rings through to your listeners, $1 billion program. $1 billion with a B. So the citizens of West Virginia are paying roughly 80% of that for the health care of the public employees. Now, we're not begrudging that at all. We absolutely realize, but everyone in the marketplace in America realizes that health care costs have expanded and increased exponentially. And so that's occurring throughout the nation, throughout the world, and in West Virginia, we're being asked to solve it, this escalating health care premiums and pharmaceutical costs. So I guess at the bottom line, you're asking, are we going to increase taxes on West Virginia citizens, or the job creators, the businesses that hire people, in order to put more money into PEIA. And at the end of the day, I'm going to. I don't see us doing that. I mean, I don't think that's the right approach to increase taxes. I think we need to drive efficiencies into the system, and make it a better program. But increasing taxes is not the way. It's a very short-term solution to a long-term problem that ultimately increasing taxes would exacerbate this problem, because we'd have fewer jobs and fewer opportunities. That's the real key for West Virginia turnaround, is to get more people working in the private sector and have private sector insurance and so forth.
So, Senator, in a sense, and I want to make sure that I hear you correctly, in a sense, what I hear you saying is that everybody, regardless of your occupation, regardless of what kind of work you're in, we're all facing rising health insurance costs. Should public employees be completely spared from that rise or not? I mean, is that really kind of what you're saying? In other words, we're all in this boat together. If David Welch and Rob Mario's health insurance rates are going up, and they are, then why shouldn't the teacher that lives next door to me, why shouldn't her rates go up as well?
Well, they're going up throughout America. You're right. And so we've experienced some rise in that in West Virginia, although and this is a great statistics and data point, nobody on the health insurance plan in West Virginia experienced an increase this year or next year. There will be no increases. Let me just give you an example of an employee in West Virginia, that, say, is secretary or something in a high school or somewhere. If they make between $20,000 and $30,000 a year, so it covers a good bit of people, between $20,000 and $30,000, their health care premium is $115 a month. So there's many people throughout your listening area that would say $115 a month, that's a good deal. If you make, if you go up to $36,000, it's $122 a month for your premium. So it's got co-pays. Yeah, your co-pays for a prescription's $20. 9 months or a 90-day supply is even less than that in some cases. There's deductibles and there's out-of-pocket maximums, but these are all, very reasonably priced programs. And Craig's right that we need to insist that PEIA deliver better customer service, that there's flexibility to utilize out-of-state providers, and that there's certainty with the system that there's not going to be a massive doubling of premiums. I think that's a lot of it. We want to take away the uncertainty about that. But at the end of the day, it's a reasonably priced program.
Yeah, when a teacher calls in to the PEIA and they're wanting to learn whether they're eligible or not, or getting pre-approved, and they have to wait online for an hour and things like that. Nonsense. This is nonsense. That is not the way the taxpayers of West Virginia are paying for this system to be out here in place for the teachers. This is where I get angry and all, because I am sympathetic to some of this. And by the way, when you talked about the low pay, you have to keep in mind a couple things about that too. The average teacher in West Virginia makes 7% more than the average West Virginia family. And see, this is where the tax base issue comes in. We want to, as Republicans and as the majority, we are trying to grow the average family income, the worker's income, because when you do that, you're actually growing the tax base. You're spreading that out. That makes it so that we can actually pay the teachers, the school service personnel, and the state employees more money. But you can't rush it to the point where you're actually spending the money that would have created jobs. That's where that problem comes in at. And when we spent 5%, that's not just this year, but every year on the teachers on this, then it cuts into the ability for us to be able to create those jobs. Now, did we manage it? You bet we did. Are we looking at, did it squeeze government elsewhere? Yep. And that's okay with me too. That's a good policy to have from that standpoint. But we want to be able to get these jobs up, and then this helps solve some of the problems on the PEIA as well.
Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair is with us in studio, and Senate President Mitch Carmichael is with us, courtesy of the W Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Craig and Mitch, I hear what you're saying, but the two of you can sit here on this radio program, and we can all force it and say everybody's health insurance costs are going up. That's just the way it is. But we all know that teachers aren't going to accept that in the fall when they go back to school. If they didn't accept it this past year, they're not going to accept the fact that everybody else's insurance premiums are going up too. So that's kind of the way life is in the fall. So what do you do come fall time when they say, this isn't fixed, we're walking?
Oh, no, I don't think either one of us said that because we're going down through. On my subcommittee, the work that we're doing is redundant testing. We've all been there before where you go to a doctor, you get one test, and you go somewhere else. The gentleman from Fairmont that worked with the Department of Defense for the VAs is actually testifying at that committee meeting on the 26th, 27th on that. Has the capability of saving $40 million of telemedicine, which Ted Cheatham basically has said he doesn't want, and the deductible for using telemedicine is higher than what it is a deductible for going to the copay, excuse me, not deductible, is higher than when you go to an actual doctor. We're a rural state. Telemedicine ought to be in place and being utilized and promoted. That's not done. That can save us a bunch of money. And then how we bid out our prescription drugs is another one. I just talked about dental. There's lots of ways to go out here and be able to get these numbers down. And I am not going to be happy unless something gets done with this customer service. The more I've thought about this, the more it burns me that there's no reason anybody should wait for an hour on what's going on to be able to get pre-approved and to get their questions answered. That is unacceptable.
And I'll just add real quickly that any teacher going to school this fall, starting a new school term, has no increase in their premiums. Now they may have jumped a tier in the pricing scheme, but there's no increase to a public employee for the PEIA cost. So that is an enormous, great benefit and offers certainty for the year, this coming school year. So, and in addition to that, they will have a teacher will have roughly $2,500 additional in their paycheck for that year.
Because of the 5% raise.
That includes the 5% raise as well as the step increment. So, I'd ask the citizens of West Virginia and your listeners to say, here's someone, I can't imagine someone going out on strike over the fact they got a $2,500 raise and no increase on their PEIA premiums. I mean, let
me ask you this, gentlemen, because
I want to follow one thing in here. And Mitch, you forgot one thing, and that is the tax cuts from the federal government as well, that is putting significant resources back into the pockets of all people, including West Virginians and teachers.
I wanted to ask, since PEI premiums are based on household income, does the raise the teachers received, will it jump them into another premium level? Or were those premium income levels also adjusted to reflect the raise so that, as you would say, Craig, it's neutral?
First of all, what you just said there, they're not based on household income. They're based on the salary of the teacher.
Okay, either way, it's based on income in some way, right?
They wanted to do total family income, and that was another big flounder by the PEIA board, in my opinion. And that is that I get it when if a teacher, and you're setting their insurance on what the teachers make, or a teacher makes. But if that teacher is selling real estate in their spare time, or waitressing, or whatever it may be, that additional income should not be included. But where I do have a problem with it is that, say the teacher's married to somebody that's got a six-figure income, and where they work at offers insurance, and then the state of West Virginia and our taxpayers are actually subsidizing that person and the business that they're working for to be on PIA because they choose not to take it at their workplace, even though, and there's plenty of doctors, there's plenty of lawyers, there's plenty of bank people out here, people like that are doing that. We need to be able to get into that, but how they implemented the total family income was a fiasco. Right. It was wrong, and it made the teachers mad and the state employees mad, and I understand that, and I'm with them on
Okay,
that.
and I'll go back to the root base of my question, which is, was the premium adjusted for the 5% raise? Were the premium levels adjusted for that?
No. What I'll say is, and many people may not be aware of this, there are about 10 categories. And you're right, the premium is based on one's income, the salary that they get from the state of West Virginia, not their total family, but their salary. So there are about 10 income brackets that start at $20,000 and go to $125,000. So roughly $10,000 increments for each bracket. And those brackets were not adjusted, but each, as I mentioned earlier, each teacher will receive about $2,500 additional in their paycheck, which amounts to about $200 a month. And the increase in brackets, if you happen to hit, like if you're right on that edge and the $2,500 puts you into the next bracket, the increase is about $20 a month. So in any circumstance, you come out way ahead with the raise and the freeze and the PEIA premiums.
Mitch, can you hang on another segment?
Yep, I got one more segment.
Great. Thank you so much. We're done at 10 at the top of the hour. I want to get into some of the flood relief money before we run out of time at the top of the hour, too, here at 9:47. More to come with Senate President Mitch Carmichael and Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair after this.
Don't believe no lies. Try your eyes. You'll realize.
The Honda 4th of July sales event has brilliant deals on our most popular vehicles, like the Civic, Fit, and Pilot. It's a reason to celebrate across the country, from the Liberty Bell to Hollywood, and even back up to Niagara Falls. So come discover the 2018 KBB.com Best Overall Brand during the Honda 4th of July sales event, now at your Honda dealer.
Miller Honda, south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 brand image awards from Kelley Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
When you do the same thing for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
Stop by the Big Apple Lounge in Inwood for their weeknight specials. Monday night at 6 wings your way, $3.95. Tuesday night, 8-ounce New York steak, prime choice hand cut on premises plus vegetable, $9.99. Wednesday night, a half a pound of steamed shrimp, large, $8.99. Thursday night, hamburger night, quarter pounder for $1.50. Fresh hand patted all beef burgers are featured. Come by the Big Apple for fun and great food. Located on Sater Drive in Inwood. Open from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Sundays, 10 a.m. until 9 p.m.
Now's the time to talk with John's Pool Supplies about opening your pool. Or maybe it's time for a new above-ground or in-ground pool. John's Pool Supplies, 237 Eagle School Road, has over 30 years of experience and a large selection of products, services, and supplies for your pool or hot tub. From custom liner installation and pool inspection to free water testing, call John's Pool Supplies at 304-267-2000, johnspoolsupplies.com.
Our last segment of the show today brought to you by Bechtel Jewelers, West Virginia's largest Pandora retailer. Really live in South Inwood, next to Viva Mexico. If you're just joining us, Senate President Mitch Carmichael is with us, courtesy of the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line, and Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair is in studio. We've been talking about PEIA and how to quote-unquote fix it in this hour, and for the final few minutes that we have, I'd like to talk about the flood relief dollars and Woody Thrasher and what's been going on in the state with that money. Mitch, from what I read, it looks like funds are starting to loosen up a little bit and beginning to flow. Craig, as the finance chair, I know you can probably chime in with an opinion on this too. Can you tell me if there are people who are actually being helped and if these dollars are actually now being spent?
Well, if the question is directed to me, this is Mitch, it's still not flowing as fast as it should. I'm disappointed that there was any delay in the program at all. It's these people that have experienced the flooding and the devastation that results from that, your heart just breaks for them. And so to have gone almost 2 years now with that scenario, and having this money available and not being able to distribute it in a really efficient, expeditious manner is frustrating beyond belief to me. Now, having said that, I think that the ball was fumbled clearly by the administration, but I think they're getting it back on track now, and we're going to be watching it very closely to make sure that that this doesn't occur again, and that the funds are delivered very quickly, that the recovery efforts are just post haste, and just get it done and get the people the relief they desperately need.
Craig, does the Senate have anything to do with this?
I don't understand that.
Fixing
I can ask
the solution to this, getting the funds distributed.
I know there's a couple of different ways that Mitch, on where that question could lead.
Take it any way you want, then.
Here's one of the problems with when you have this, and it's a problem with government in general. Yep, you have bureaucrats that are. Let me back up. That was the wrong choice of words. You have employees that work and that they're lifetime government employees. But then you also have leaders that come in. Every time you get a new governor, you get new secretaries of transportation, blah, 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 throughout. And then what happens is that lots of times they're not familiar with the processes and they get confused on what's going on. So it's always like starting over from square one again when it comes to managing some of this stuff. It shouldn't be that way, and we need to be looking at government on how that part of it is being managed. As for the Senate, we had a senator that took the blame not too long ago whenever we moved over and sent into the Department of Commerce and saying that, well, maybe it should have went to DMAPs. Have I got that right, Mitch?
Yes.
And he actually, it wasn't our fault. We were actually doing what the administration wanted to do, and it actually took place in my committee. I was the chair of the Government Organization Committee when that took place, and I was out of that committee meeting at that point in time, probably negotiating a deal for something. And then Ed Goncher's running that. And it came through there, but Mitch actually went and got the emails that showed where the governor's office wanted to do this. You want to elaborate on that, Mitch?
Well, I think there's been some reporting that said the Senate changed where these recovery efforts, what agency they would be housed in. And so we did exactly what the administration had asked us to do. They felt that the recovery efforts were better managed within the Department of Commerce. They felt they could match more money and deliver the funds more efficiently and expeditiously. And so, of course, we're going to give them all the tools they need in order to, implement the recovery in the most efficient manner. So we did that, and then it turns out, though, that they wished that they wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Anyhow, we'll help them walk through this.
Keep in mind, too, at that point in time, the governor was not a Republican. He was a Democrat. We could care less about this. We're in the business of trying to operate a state in an efficient and effective manner to be able to get the results, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want to. But here's the thing that bugs me about the distribution of this money for flood relief, and that is nobody came to anybody and said, hey, we're having issues, we're having problems, we need to do this. And that's what bugs me.
Nobody in state government came to you and said that, or none of the citizens who were waiting for the money?
Well, the citizens waiting for the money wouldn't know who to go to. To start with, they're sitting there thinking about what's going on. You can hear the rumblings on what's going on, but it's low level.
Sure.
You don't realize how big the problem is until you should have had a distribution. How much money was that? $114 million, and they had only distributed like $1.5 million.
149 million.
And they've only
distributed
150,
right?
They've distributed $1 million.
Yep.
Right. And the governor's office has an answer to some of that. There was some money distributed, and they couldn't do it till a certain time or whatever it may be. But I'm not buying into a whole lot of that. What was going on? We had people working on this and everything, and you only distributed anybody should have been able to look at that and see what's going on. Now, we've restructured a few things in legislatively, and that is that we're going to see that there's going to be a report done once a month to the committee that's in charge or that deals with flooding, that is going to be overseeing this to try to put it. So the problem that was created is got a solution to it, because we're going to take greater oversight now on what's going on. And you just don't know these things if you don't do it every day.
And this lack of oversight was created when the governor had the legislature change something procedurally, so that you did not have the oversight over it any longer?
Well,
is that
it's
correct?
an executive branch function. I think that's the bottom line here, is that this flood recovery effort was managed from the governor's. The legislature cannot direct a 60-day part-time legislature can't direct a $150 million flood recovery effort. Mm-hmm. We set it up to be managed by the executive branch of government, and they and they take full ownership of the fact that they fumbled the ball on this, and that they're trying to, put the pieces back in place to make it better and quicker and faster for those affected by the flooding. But at the end of the day, it's an executive branch function. There's no question. Nobody would dispute that.
I think what's disheartening, too, is that it doesn't seem to have gotten any kind of traction or public attention until it was reported in the media. I mean, this is...
Yeah, I agree, although the reports have recently been released that show that many of those affected by the flooding were calling in to the governor's office.
And not getting anywhere.
Branch.
Yep,
not getting anywhere.
Hey,
and
Mitch,
getting delays and stonewall.
We're just about out of time here. I got about 20 seconds left, Craig.
Yeah, I want to add one last thing to that. And what I just got done describing there, I didn't effectively communicate that. The legislative branch it's a function of the executive branch to be able to manage these things. And at all levels of government, but the legislative branch has the duty to have an oversight.
That's what I was
and that's
at.
what I was trying to communicate.
Mitch, thanks so much for your time this morning. Very much appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Senate President Mitch Carmichael on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line.
Tammy's husband was killed by a drunk driver.
I'm all alone now. How could I raise 3 children?
My dad isn't here to coach me in baseball.
My dad was going to walk me down the aisle.
Drinking and driving takes a heavy toll beyond the roadways. Make a plan. Call a friend, parent, Uber, or cab. Stay overnight. Don't drink and drive.
Brought to you by Herbert Hoover High School, West Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control, and ABCA, State Farm, West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station.
For the last 34 years, the Martinsburg Bulldogs have been heard on Talk Radio WRNR.
Leaping into the air, Chilo Tenenbaugh has it. Is he in the end zone? Yes, he is. It's a Martinsburg Bulldog touchdown just inside the pylon and keeping his feet in bounds on the far sideline. Tenenbaugh pulls it in.
Join Matt Miller, Vic Holmes, and Jason Kolrick for all the 2018 football action on your home for Martinsburg football, Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports Radio station.
Big thanks to our guests in this hour, Senate President Mitch Carmichael, Senate Finance Chair Craig Blair. Craig, very much appreciated. Good information put out there.
Yeah, thank you. And thank the Senate President for spending, 40 minutes with us?
Very much so. And to all the dog walkers out there, I'd like to give you Rob's address.
Give them Welch's. He doesn't mind it. He said he wants more of it, in fact.
The poop court is in session.
Free fertilizer.
Special thanks to our producer, Sherry Dieter Davis, playing hurt today, and our intern, Savant Hutter, who stepped up to the plate in the absence of Sherry at times this morning, too. Very much appreciated. It's 10 o'clock. The Glenn Beck Show is next. This is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg. Talk to you again in 22 short hours.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TheraWorks Relief.
I'm Peter King. American, Mexican, and Canadian soccer fans, start making your plans.
It is a great morning for soccer in the United States. It's a proud moment.
Dallas Host Committee Chair Dan Hunt after learning that World Cup matches could be played there in 2026. Here's CBS's Steve Futterman.
The World Cup is coming to the U.S. and North America.
Canada, Mexico, and USA have been selected by the FIFA Congress.
A joint bid involving all 3 countries was selected. Before the vote took place, an impressive presentation.
Our people are ready. Our nations are ready. And we are excited to welcome the world.
The only other country making a bid was Morocco. Although it's a joint bid, all of the major matches will take place in the U.S. The World Cup final will be held at MetLife Stadium just outside New York City. Steve Futterman, CBS News.
President Trump is back in the country after the North Korea summit in Singapore. South Korea is wondering about his willingness to cancel its joint military exercises with the U.S.
One of the things that I'm very happy about, we're not going to play the war games anymore, which you know how expensive that is? We're flying these massive bombers in for practice from Guam.
Mr. Trump on Fox News. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Seoul to brief South Korean leaders. More from CBS's Jason Struther.
Officials here in South Korea were not informed, nor were officials in the U.S. military stationed here. However, the South Korean president's spokesperson indicated during a press conference that in order to keep dialogue going with North Korea,